Hey everyone, welcome to a fraction decimal percent day where we go everywhere, all over the triangle, all in one day. It's going to be great. Fractions. If we have 3/4, we already know how to get that to a decimal. And how do we do that? We do the fraction hating troll. So we tip over and we put the top number inside and then we divide. And we end up with a decimal. Sometimes we do need to add a 0 and bring that down, but we'll end up with a decimal. That decimal is the exact same value as the fraction. You already know that. Now, how do you go from a decimal to a fraction? You say it. So this is, say it the place value way. So this is 75 hundredths, 75 hundredths, and you write it and then you simplify it. I can divide both of those by 25, and that gives me, shocker, 3/4. So that's how that is how to go from fraction to decimal or decimal to fraction. Let's scroll on down here to the bottom and let's go from a decimal to a percent. What you can do is you times by 100 because percent literally means per 100, doesn't it? So if you have a decimal like 0.75, then you times by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal 2 times to the right. You end up with 75. Ooh, losing space, running out of room in your notes, huh? 75% is the same as 75 hundredths. If we want to go back the other direction, we just do the exact opposite. So instead of timesing by 100, we divide by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal 2 times left. So 75%, put the decimal on the end if it's not in sight, and then move it left 2 times, and you have a decimal. All right, let's do fraction percent, percent to fraction. If you have a fraction, what you can do to get it straight to 100% or straight to a percent is to biglify it. So here we had 3/4. If I biglify it, that means I try to get it to 100. I can do that by timesing by 25. And if I times the bottom by 25, I have to times the top by 25 to keep the fraction equivalent, correct? So 3 times 25 is 75. And then 75 over 100 is 75%. Very cool, huh? Now, what if you have a percent, like 75%, and you want to make it a fraction? Well, you put it over 100, and then you simplify that. Here's what it would look like. 75% is 75 over 100, and then you simplify that. We already know that that simplifies to 3/4. So that is all the ways you can move around. Now, we've talked about this before. If you're not able to biglify a number, for example, if it is like 3/8, 8 is not a factor of 100, so you're not going to be able to biglify it. No fear, don't worry. Take that fraction hating troll it to a decimal, then scoop it twice, and you'll still make it to percent. Okay? So let's practice. A lot of great practice for fraction, percent, and decimal stuff is just taking a number and moving it to all the different sides of the triangle, changing it into all the different forms. So if we have a percent here, which is 40%, and we want to change that to a decimal, well, we remember that to go from a percent to a decimal, if we're going from percent to decimal, Dr. Pepper, for that percent, we need to scoop it towards the pepper or scoop it towards the decimal. We need to make that, boom, boom, 0.4. Okay. And then if we want to make it a fraction, we have two options. We can take it down here as the percent, put it over 100 and simplify it. Ooh, let me do that. Or we can take the decimal and move that up to the fraction form by saying it and writing it. What I will do is take that percent. Well, this is 4/10, right? So 4/10, which will simplify to 2/5. The other option is to take the percent, put it over 100, and simplify it. You still get 2/5. Okay? On this next one, we have the fraction, and we need to change that down to a decimal and also to a percent. So I notice that 5 will go into 100, won't it? So I can do the biglifying trick. If I times the 5 by 20, then that will give me a biglify fraction of 100. So I'll times the top by 20, and that gives me 80. So 80 over 100 is 80%. And then if I just scoop it twice, I get 0.8. Okay. Percent to decimal is probably my favorite because from here to there, all we have to do is scoop. So I'm going to just change that decimal, divide it by 100, and get 52 hundredths. And then percent to fraction is probably my second favorite because I can just put that over 100 and boom, I've got a fraction. Then the only thing I have left that I need to do is I need to simplify it. I notice that both of those are even, right? So I can go 26 50ths. I notice that both of those are even, so I can divide both of those by 2 again and get 13 25ths. 13 is prime, so I'm as simplified as I can get. Okay, now this one is a whole number. It's 1 and 25 hundredths. Here's what I know about whole numbers. I know that my percent will be 100 something. I know that my fraction will be 1 whole and some type of fraction. So when I have a whole number, really the only thing I have to really change is that 25 hundredths. 25 hundredths, if I scoop it, will be 25%. So 1 and 25 is the same as 100 and 25%. And then 25% is the same thing as 25 over 100. So then I can just simplify those and I get 1/4. So I get 1 and 1/4. Granted, if you already have 25% memorized, you already know that that is 1/4 and 25%, right? So that could have been done a lot easier without having to do any of that simplifying right there. But just wanted to show you how to do it. All right, the last one is a fraction. I cannot biglify this to 100, can I? 11 is not a factor of 100. So what I'll do is I'll fraction hating troll it. I'll go down the decimal and then scoop that over to my percent. So fraction hating troll 11 ninths, and I'm going to get, oh guys, we're gonna run out of room, aren't we? What happens is we end up with a repeating decimal that looks like this. Okay, now what do you do if you have a repeating decimal? You could do the fraction bar, right? You could also just round it. So it would be 81.818 repeating percent, correct? But we can also just round it to the nearest percent. So would that be 81% or 82%? Well, looking next door, we have an 8. So that's probably closer to 82 than 81, isn't it? So let's just round that to 82%. And that would end up being 82 hundredths. So instead of going on and on and on and on forever, just round it to the nearest percent, which will mean you'll have it rounded to the nearest hundredth. That, my friends, is how to change any number into its fraction, decimal, or percent form. Have fun with it, and I'll see you in the next video.